I welcome these two distinguished leaders on behalf of all of the virtual audience, and I look forward to the discussion ahead. For more information about our speakers, please refer to our website. Well, good morning, Dr. Feist-Price and Dr. Walker-Griffea.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. We are grateful and excited to have you here today, as both of you are two impactful leaders within the Flint community. We have two questions to ask, and if time allows, we will have a third. The way that this will work is that I will ask the question and then let the two of you have the conversation. After the first question is complete, then I will ask the next. Ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the theme of this event is authenticity. What does this term mean to you?
Who wants to go first? You want to go or me?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to go first. So first of all, I want to say thank you to the Michigan ACE Women's Network, particularly the Women of Color Network, for affording me and Dr. Beverly this wonderful opportunity. I truly count it a privilege and a blessing to be able to engage and share and to have the floor with my wonderful colleague and sister twin. We actually share the same birthday. So to be able to have the floor with her today is truly a privilege. What does authenticity mean to me? It means to bring all of who I am unapologetically to wherever I am. So not having to feel as though I have to code switch, to compromise, to get in, to fit in, but just being all of who I am, realizing that it's more than enough, that it is accepted, it's celebrated, it's valued. And I think for me, it not only means the ways in which others perceive me, but more importantly, how I feel about being true to who I am and bringing all that I am to any environment, to any situation. And so that's what authenticity means to me.
So I'd like to say thank you as well. I really, really enjoyed the video. I could really relate to Rashada Womack because I also wanted to be that it girl for my senior prom. And what happened to me was that it took my hair out. So I actually went as an undergraduate to Oklahoma State University with about that much hair, which would be in style now, but it was not then. So, authenticity probably started, very young with trying to move around and learn more about me and really to accept who I was, because that was a traumatic experience, losing all of your hair before you graduate from high school and going into, a public situation at a new college where no one really, and they're meeting you with this much hair. And you know how Black women are about our hair. So you know how that was not, I wasn't feeling all of that. So authenticity really truly to me means being accepting of who you are and being able to love who you are, because there are many, many things that we have about ourselves that as women, we don't tend to like, and we do all of these things to really make us better, make us feel like we're, really something else that we really aren't. So it's authenticity means, first of all, understanding the specialness of who you are, what those strengths are, what those weaknesses are, and loving it and embracing it and using it to your advantage to move yourself personally and professionally in advancement. Because too often we look at ourselves and we see something totally different that the world doesn't. And those perspectives then guide what we don't do, or what we do, as far as moving ourselves. And I guess I would just like to say that I know in leadership, we have so many things thrown at us, especially for women, of how you should behave and what you should do. And you get, all muddled and trying to find, well, if that works and I'm supposed to pick that up and I'm supposed to do it this way and I'm supposed to be like Michelle Obama at the time and, all those kinds of things. And we forget our inner beauty, as Rashada Womack talked about, and the specialness of who we are. And so authenticity to me means, and I think we're always striving for this, because I'm gonna tell you every day, I have to strive for loving myself and who I am as a person and accepting that and moving with that as my guiding star.
Absolutely. I want to comment on the physical beauty piece, and I appreciate Beverly, because that's how you and I know each other. That physical piece. And for me, growing up in the 80s, it wasn't the Afro, but I was this razor thin kind of person. And I don't know how many people can remember when Ebony and Jet would have these articles about weight on and this horrible tasting substance that you could buy in order to put weight on. And so my sister and I would spend whatever allowance we had to buy this awful tasting substance so that we could put weight on, which never really panned out anyway. But also for me, I've always had very full lips. And I would be teased about my lips. And I grew up with this complex about my lips. Well, in today's times, people are getting injections to get full lips. But what I can relate with my colleague and friend Beverly is saying, Dr. Beverly is saying, is that loving ourselves. As a psychologist, one of the things I know is that it's not so much what people say about us, it's what we say to ourselves. And I remember reading this quote where it says, it's not what people say, it's what you answer to. It's not what people call you, it's what you answer to. And I, as a therapist, when I am privileged to work with clients, one of the things I help them to do is recognize the voices in their heads that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I don't have what it takes to succeed in this area or that area. And even for myself, I have to work on saying to myself, you are more than enough. Your beauty is, you are beautiful. Your full lips are beautiful. Your personality is beautiful. And I think the other thing is that we try to fit in. And as a professional, there are times when you have to modulate for the crowds that you're in. But I think for me, as I am evolving into my womanness, it's realizing that I will bring all of who I am. I will not code switch the ways in which I have in the past. I will be my authentic self, because I think people appreciate me more when I could just be the authentic Sonja from this little rural country town in Louisiana and not feeling like I have to act like I'm someone else. I can just be who I am, and that is more than enough. So that's what hearing Dr. Beverly inspired in me, and I thought about as I was listening and relating.
So I just want to say that, and I think Sonja would agree, that I think one of the messages that, we have to put forward as senior leaders is that everyone out here is good enough to make the leap to reach the goals that they've set for themselves, and probably that they didn't even think they could. Because I'm going to be honest, if you would have asked me a few years ago about being a president, I would have said, oh, no. Because society has said, no. I have had people to say to me, oh, you don't, you're not that kind of material. You're an introvert. You're, all these different kinds of things that make you not think that you can move forward, but you certainly can if you use those special things about yourself to advance yourself and understand how to use them appropriately in those situations and remain who you are with those values that you've set for yourself. There are certain things that I know I'm not going to do. And so I'm going to make sure that I keep that in the back of my mind all the time with whatever I do. And so authenticity often means that you've got to search yourself and you've got to use those advantages for your leadership style.
Mhm.
Ladies, I am so enamored by this conversation. And if I wasn't on camera, I would be snapping, clapping, stomping, screaming. Thank you so much. If you like, I want to talk about the next question if you're ready.
Sure.
Yes. So the second question is, what were times when you thought you couldn't be authentic? And what did you do to overcome this?
So I guess I get to answer that one first, right, Sonja? Okay.
Yes, you do, my friend.
I guess that I've been in times and in situations where it was not best for me to really showcase my brainy assertiveness. I'm gonna put it that way, because for some, I'm gonna say some men, especially, they don't take kindly to that. And so there are repercussions that happen with that. And so that there have been, issues that that I've been in that, the person that was supervising me was actually a person that was a bully. And really, really, anytime I tried to be myself, it put me in my place in many different ways, either publicly or professionally. But I knew that I was a single parent raising my child. And so I needed the money and I needed to continue on with my journey. Plus, one thing about community colleges, I can't speak for universities, but community colleges are a very small space where everybody knows everybody. And so in order to continue to move ahead, you've got to figure out how to make your goals that you're doing, but also work within the pattern that that person wants you to respond to them and to the world. And so I literally had to do that until finally, for those that know me, know that, God moved me to a different place where I could be all of me again. But, you've got to take care of you and you've got to take care of family and you've got to take care of your professional reputation. Those are all great things that you always need to keep aware of when you are in situations where you can't be yourself.
It's tough going after Dr. Beverly, so maybe I should have gone first. But what I will say is, and as I was listening, I hearkened back to, earlier childhood experiences. And for the people that have heard me speak before, they know that I'm a first generation high school graduate, first generation college graduate. In my little small town, if you were not born to a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, then you were perceived to not have the acumen needed to advance into certain social stratus. But my father, who probably had a fifth grade reading level, but was just so talented with his hands. He would always talk to my sister, my brother, and I about the value of education. I think also within my community, you always heard what you can't do. Oh, you're Harry Feist's daughter. You'll never be, you'll never do. And so all of my life, I grew up proving people wrong. It's always like, proving the naysayers wrong, which I learned in higher education, that is called resilience. But one of the things that I've learned about being resilient is that, first of all, I have to be unapologetically who I am, not shying away from or hiding the fact that I am a first generation high school and college graduate. Because what needs to happen is to say to persons who are growing up in or who have had similar life experiences is that if I did it, so can you. So that is the way in which I model to others that the only thing that separates you and I is age and hard work and willingness to persist even in the face of adversity, even in the face of naysayers. Growing up, I was always a very outspoken kid. In fact, my dad, my mom, both, my youngest daughter is very, very outspoken. And my parents would always say, this is payback, because I was such an outspoken kid. But in higher ed, in academia, I learned to, bite my tongue. Imposter syndrome is real. Because even after I matriculated and I got all of the degrees, I still would feel as though maybe I shouldn't have a voice. Maybe I shouldn't speak up. But I realized as a woman of faith that to whom much is given, much is required. And when I am privileged to be at a table, when that little voice in my head says you should be quiet, maybe what you say will not be as profound as someone else, I'm reminded by the words that says, to whom much is given, much is required. And when you are privileged to be at the table, you must be a voice for those that are not at the table. So I have come to the realization, as I have evolved in my life with various painful life experiences, that those experiences make me who I am so that I can be a blessing and a privilege to others that are traveling similar life journeys. And that when I am at the table, I will give voice for people who are not at the table. I will bring issues that have been at the margins to the center. But what I have learned is that I must be mindful of the ways in which I do so. So as a child, I would just spout off. I don't just spout off. Well, sometimes I get emotional and I just can't contain myself. I can't fix it up, dress it up. I just have to put it out there. But when I am able to be more refined in my development, I think about how should I say this so that my colleagues can hear me and feel me. I want you to feel where I'm coming from. And so that is how I have evolved over the years, being mindful of not what to say, but how to say it, because I am a voice for the little girls, little boys who grew up poor, who grew up feeling as though they were unattractive because of their skin color and their dark skin color. But the little girls with the big lips who felt like you got to suck them in because they're too big, but now everybody's getting injections. I'm just unapologetically who I am because that is what God requires of me. He didn't bless me to sit quiet in a corner and not be heard. No, I'm not. So I bring truth. Then that's who I am. That's who I have evolved to become.
That is amazing. And I'm learning so much about this conversation. And we do have a couple extra minutes. But even in this conversation, I'm like thinking over my brain, like how to be authentic on camera, how to be authentic and how to like look good in front of you two amazing leaders. And I guess I'm still working on my authenticity. Like we do have a couple of more minutes. So what is something that you would like to leave the audience with, if a word of wisdom?
What I would say is that being your authentic self, it starts with the individual. What I know as a therapist is that the biggest barriers to your authenticity comes from the voices in your head. It's not what people say. And in most part, it's not what people do, but it's what you internalize. And when I work with my clients, I help them to realize that they have to develop and amplify the voices in their heads that say, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, you might have to retool. You might have to take a couple of classes, but I can't is not in my vocabulary. And so what I would say to those that are listening, you have to quiet those negative voices in your head. You have to be in touch with those voices that leads you to the better and greater things. And you have to connect to other power sources, people that are doing what you would like to do. Connect, ask them, how did you do that? Because I believe in the Swahili word Sankofa. Each one reach back and bring someone along the way. You know, it's like, and so anybody who has been blessed, and I know Dr. Beverly can attest to this, you are blessed to be a blessing to someone else. That's the ripple effect. So number one, quiet the negative voices in your head. Amplify the positive voices in your head. And if there is something that you must do to be your best self, by all means do it. We have one life to live. And I think about the talents. And you know, the one person had one talent, one had five, one had three, one had five. And the one who had five, he used every single talent he had such that he was given the extra talent of the person who had a talent and did nothing. When I leave this earth, I'm leaving nothing on the table. I'm giving all that I have to give. And I encourage each and every person that is listening to my voice, use all of your talents, all of your skills, all of your abilities. We need what you have to give. This world needs what you have to give. And if you feel that you are deficient in some way, you figure out what you need, you get it, and you move forward and you do what your talents allow you to do. Don't hide it. Don't shrink so somebody else can feel big. Use your talents. Quiet the negative voices. Affirm who you are. Sometimes you got to encourage yourself. Encourage, motivate yourself. I'll stop there. I can go on. I can start preaching, but I'm going to stop right there.
I thought you were preaching, my friend.
Yes, I get stirred. I get stirred. And so, okay, I will yield.
So for me, it's pretty simple. This is a Women of Color collaborative. We need you. I need you to be your authentic self and step forward and use your voice and be courageous for justice. I sit at many tables and I am the only one. Black, female. It doesn't matter. I am the only one. And so I am forced to be the voice, to try to keep things moving when people either don't know or don't want to hear. And it gets tiring because I am the one. And we all know, or we should know, there's something called angry Black woman syndrome, where people think when you speak up and you share just right facts, that it's just that angry Black woman going. And that does not feel good. I need you. We need you to move forward and come to the table. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. As Sonja has just said, every single person on here has the talent to move themselves forward, to take that hand, because I can reach back all I want, but if you don't take that hand to come back up, you're gonna sit right there in yourself saying why I didn't. So I just encourage everyone to listen to what we've said and what we've asked for. Get to know who you are and what's special about you, and learn to love yourself the way you are, and to use that to the advantage so you can propel yourself up and accept willingly those steps of what it takes to move forward. I need you at the table with me. And when you get there, I don't need you to be silent. I need you to be courageous enough to say what is just and right for everyone to be afforded the opportunity to move forward. Thank you.
I just have to say, Dr. Beverly, you gave me chills, and I'm choked up. And that was so profound, because you are so right. We need each and every person at the sound of our voices, and even those that are not here, because it gets tough being the one at the table that must speak up all the time. And I say to our white allies and accomplices that are on this video, this Zoom, we need you. There are times when people can hear you, when it is difficult for them to hear me. You must use your voice, no matter who you are. When you're privileged to be at the table and for you to say nothing, I think there's a guiltiness. And I know there's a quote by Martin Luther King who says, "What's worse than our enemies is the silence of our friends." And I think about this one colleague of mine who knew when something needed to be said, but she would look at me and she would wink, like that's my cue to say something. And when nobody else would, I would certainly give voice. But on more than one occasion, I would say to her, I need your voice. I need you to speak up. It is not always my responsibility to speak up. I need you to speak up when you know there is something that must be said, because there are people at that table that'll hear you before they hear me. So for all of us, irrespective to your racial, ethnic, religious, sexual identity, whatever the case may be, when we are at the table, we have to show up, and you have what it takes. Dr. Beverly said, we need you. Yes, we need you. And please know, you have what it takes. You are more than enough. And he doesn't call who is equipped. He equips who he calls. So all you have to do is say yes, step forward, take the reins, and you will see possibilities will open up that you haven't even dreamed of. So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Beverly, for your remarks. They just touched me in such a meaningful way. I literally had chills and tears. So thank you. That was very, very powerful.
Thank you. Like, I truly hate to wrap this up, because I can listen to the both of you for days, for hours, for months. But we are unfortunately ending our time. Thank you, Dr. Feist-Price. Thank you, Dr. Walker-Griffea. And we are moving on to the next part of our session today.